Hello plant parents, welcome to the brand new episodes of My Plant My Baby. And today we'll be talking about one of the famous playlists, which is Plant Care Guide, where I talk about A to Z of every plant, where we talk about each of its care, how to water, what type of temperature to have, how a plant creates a fungal and how you can care about it. We all cover in this segment. So don't forget to follow us on Instagram as well as on YouTube below. And also make sure that you push the bell button so that I keep coming to you guys every time and you don't miss me on your screen around. So here, let's talk about one of my favorite plants, which is Sansevierias. And when you're looking at buying a Sansevierias, you're taking one of the best decisions to have this plant baby because it's one of the most disciplined baby of God. In terms of the care, it requires very little care. However, these are the 4 aspects you should look at whenever you're buying a Sansevieria or you want to take care of it. The first important aspect I'll talk about is water. Second should be around the placement, which defines what temperature and how much light it should be given. Third, I'll talk about the plant food and media. And fourth, I'll talk about what are the things you should not do in terms of to avoid any fungal activity. Let's start and talk about the water. And here I have a spoon test to be done. It's a very famous test which I've evolved to know that how much water does the plants need. So usually plants, Sansevierias are arid plants. They are succulent varieties that require very little plants. So you make sure that you don't water them very often. Like sometimes you even can water it every 15 days and they do good. Always make sure that whenever you're watering, you give a good watering so that the water moves out of the plant and goes into the tray. But you always make sure that it's been watered enough. Right? But don't water it very often. One of the reasons which most of the Sansevierias die is over-watering. And that happens is when you keep watering it every regular now and then. So you got to make sure in watering that how much you water is that the water trickles out is how much you water it, and how often is use the spoon test and always make sure that it's dry. So whenever you put the spoon into it, you got to make sure that your media is dry. This is wet, so you can still wait for some more time. Right? So in this, every time you can check on your plants through a spoon test. Eventually you will know the trend and know that when you have to water next. So that's from the aspects of watering. A second important aspect is the placement. आपने कहाँ plant रखा हुआ है, वो define करता है आपका temperature क्या है उस area का and how much light you are giving it. So these are usually grow in bright light, but they are tolerant to low lights also. So anything from 700-800 to 1500 lux is something they are very comfortable and grow very nice. And this much amount of light you get it at a windowsills, or you can check it from your normal lights also. If you want to keep those indoors and you don't have it, you need to have artificial light, which you can put it to create a lux of 1500 or 1200 to 1500 lux now. Now in terms of the temperature, these are hardy plants. Look at the stems. They're hard, they're not soft ones. So what you have to do here is that you keep it even at a hard, strong temperatures, which is upward of 35-40, and this is sustains. It's only when it reaches really higher, 45 to 48 is when you have to save them. Even at frost, when the temperatures goes below 3 to 4 degrees is when these plants don't like it. They don't like cold as much as they like hot. So you got to make sure that you keep them safe indoors in these extreme times. Usually in December, January in Delhi and around in summers, May and June peak of summers. You have to save them. Rest at all times, they will do very good in terms of the placement. Can keep it anywhere where you get this much amount of light, and temperature is something which will anyways be maintained because of that placement. A third important aspect is the media and the plant food job area. So very important aspect is in terms of is what sort of a media you're using. Again, it requires a very porous media, because if you have soil, it will stick and there's a lot of chances of clotting. If a clot happens, there's a fungal activity that brings in. If there's a fungal activity, your stems will start rotting, because the root will rot. So always make sure that it has a porous soil. Again, a good mix of cocoa chips, cocoa peat, and mix it with obviously a slow releasers. These don't require a lot of slow releasers, right? So they don't like a lot of food also. And because they are made genetically to survive tough conditions, right? They were actually born in the deserts and not in the dense forest. So if in the deserts, they are prone to harsh temperatures, and that's why they can even sustain if there is less food available to them. But still, you obviously have to make sure that you are giving food to the plant. So you do a 6 to 8 months of feeding through Basacode or Nutricode. Don't give them a NPK mixture. That's not something you can manage and control at a home level. And that's sort of a discipline doesn't come in very often. So always make sure that you put a feeding from the perspective of a slow releasers around only. A fourth important aspect which I was talk about with this plant is always make sure that things which you should not do about it. So things you should not do with this plant is, if you're seeing any signs of distress or fungal activity, make sure you do two things. If there is a fungal activity happening in this, you need to repot it. Change the pot at that same time so that fungal activity doesn't spread more. So change the pot if you see a fungal activity happening inside, or there are a lot of rots happening. It means that you have changed the watering plants. Either you have overwatered it or you have watered it very often. So there is clotting happening here, and the plant roots are not feeling good and they are sort of giving up, and that's why the leaves are giving up. Second is, a lot of times you might see some tip burns or some of the fungal activity happening in. You need to just remove that stem. That's one important aspect, right? These two are most important aspects which you should not do when you are taking care of a Sansevierias. So I think I made it clear, and my Sansevierias does very good. If you follow all of them, trust me that your plants and your Sansevierias will really thrive and multiply every season to give you new babies and make your environment more greener and more purified. That's from our side, from My Plant My Babies page. I'm Anu Grover signing off. In case you have any comments, please drop down below. I will love to interact with all of you guys. I actually want to know how you guys are liking this. In case you are liking what I'm doing for the last 3-4 months, give me a thumbs up so that I know that you guys are liking. In case you have any feedback, please give me a feedback so that I can change or edit any of the options, so that we give you what you require, with the end objective of creating 2 million gardeners all around. And that's what this whole objective of having My Plant My Baby is. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episodes. Bye-bye.